Welcome everyone to my latest Endless Space 2 Let's Play. My name's Macsen. For this Let's Play I'll be using version 1.052, and from the amount of time I played with it so far, it's actually been very free of bugs and performance issues which really plagued the release version of the game. In the last Let's Play I did, the release version Let's Play with the soft-ons, I basically had to bring it to an end because there were so many bugs. But I haven't had any of the bugs I had in that Let's Play with the time I played with this patch so far, or any performance issues. So Amplitude's done a good job finally. They had previously rushed out patches which actually caused more issues, but yeah, it seems to be a good patch now finally. But I won't, well, I'll reserve judgment until the end of the Let's Play. We'll see then if it's yeah, free of all of the big issues with the game that were in earlier versions. I'm sure there is the odd small bug still, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, so after the last Let's Play I did with the soft-ons, I actually put up a straw poll and people voted on that for the Empire they preferred me to play as in this Let's Play. And as I'm sure you're aware by the thumbnail and description of the video, I'm actually going to be playing as the Cravers. So let's take a look at them in a bit more detail, and I'd just like to thank those of you who voted in that straw poll as well.
Either you are with us, or you are our fodder.
So there's a bit of a description about what the Cravers are and what they do down here. To sum them up though, I'd say they're kind of a sci-fi locust that literally eats everything and everyone they come across. They strip planets of all the resources, including their own, until a point of utter depletion. And if they don't have somewhere else to move on after doing that, well, their resources are pretty lacking and they really suffer from it. And that is built into their affinities and traits as well. Alongside the Vodjani, they are really the very much focused war empires within Endless Space 2. And they have some pretty unique mechanics as well, so they can be quite tricky to play with. And there's been quite a few people on the forums who yeah, have had problems with them, but I'll be able to show you how I play them during the course of the Let's Play. So let's take a look at their affinities and traits. They are slave drivers, so this is a faction affinity. They enslave factions living on the same planet, and they get -10 approval per enslaved population. But the enslaved populations gain 100% FIDSI, that's food, industry, dust, science, and influence. So that's a lot, and you can definitely make use out of that. The actual populace themselves, the Cravers, they actually get a huge FIDSI bonus as well on undepleted planets, but the presence of a Craver on a world means that a planet will become depleted and basically a lifeless husk by the end of yeah, the planet's resourcefulness. The faction traits, they start with a minor race, the Hiroshams, on one of their, well, on their home system. They have crowded planets, which is a very nice trait. It means they can have a lot more population on their worlds than other races. They have eternal war, so they have a tendency to aggressiveness, which means they can't have peace treaties with other factions if the militarists are in the Senate. They also have big fleets, so they have extra command points to start, and the fleets actually cost less dust, which is money. So you can have huge fleets at less expense. And the warriors are pretty good as well, so they get extra health to their infantry. And they start with a couple of technologies which I can show later on in the tech tree. So that's an introduction to the Cravers, but that's only really the half of it. A lot of their special mechanics aren't even mentioned within their traits and affinities, but I'll be getting to that later on. So I should mention the actual settings I'm using for this game. I'm going to have 6 competitors, so it's 5 opponents. And basically I'm going to have a lot of opponents that we didn't see last time round, or, well, it was only 2 that we didn't see. Horatio and the Vodjani. The Vodjani are aggressive, like I mentioned before, very much focused on war. We didn't get to see much of the Unfallen in the last Let's Play, so I've included them, and we didn't see the soft-ons, of course, because I played as them. And I've also included the United Empire this time round once again, because they are pretty aggressive themselves and focused on attacking people quite a lot, not to the same extent as the Vodiani and the Cravers though. For the actual settings I'm going to stick to the hardest difficulty, of course, endless. I'm going to keep the minor civilization difficulty on hard, which is what I usually play. To be honest though, that may actually benefit the Cravers since they don't use diplomacy really with minor races. They just conquer them. So that's just going to make it harder for the other races, but it's what I usually use, so I'll stick with that. Normal speed, and all of this is default, haven't changed a thing. For the galaxy settings, it's great that you get so many galaxy settings. In fact, there's even more here. All of that's been left at default though. But yeah, they could really do with letting you know a bit more about what maps you can expect from the settings you pick, to be honest. For example, the number of constellations, well, that doesn't tell me how many I can expect on this size map, which is a pain. I'd like to know that. The galaxy density can really affect your game in a big way as well. I'd say, well, the lower it is, the less systems you'll get on your map. Basically, this is well suited to conquest victories, whereas the higher the galaxy density is probably better suited to more peaceful victory types, such as the wonder or economic victory or the science victories, or even score victory if you happen to somehow achieve that. But yeah, I'd like some more options here telling you how many constellations you can expect and how many systems you can expect as well. But yeah, these are the settings I'll be using anyway. So I'm going to play on a large map, which is what I've been doing for the last 3 Let's Plays, I think. And we're going to have Ovoid, which as you can see there, that's a bit of a description. Okay, so that is the settings. Okay, let's get started. There's an introduction video to the Cravers which plays shortly. I'll be quiet while that's in action. Then I'll go into much more details about them and actually start playing the game.
We were already hungry when they created us. Even abandoned by our masters, our hunger still remains.
So that's the Cravers, and that introduction video is definitely one of my favourites for all of the empires. All of them are good actually, but in particular that one. So we start with a hero being recruited, which is the same for all empires, of course. I'll come to him shortly. And there's a bit of a tutorial for the Cravers, so I'm going to be reading this shortly, in fact now. So always hungry, never sated. I would say if you're completely new to Endless Space 2, I'd check out my release version Let's Play with the soft ones maybe before this one, because I'm not going to be going over every single basic detail within this Let's Play. I'm going to assume that you've watched one of my Let's Plays before. I've done 5 previous to this now. So, the Cravers are a unique race in the Endless universe, with a civilization which is based on a constant need for expansion and consumption. As such, they are not an easy race to lead and require a very focused playstyle that plays to their strengths. If you're not too squeamish, click on the Empire screen to learn more. I'm sure there's the odd bit of basic stuff I'll re-mention during the course of this. So what else does it mention here? Here you can view all the special traits of your chosen race. For now, let's focus on the Cravers affinity, slave drivers, which is that there. When they populate any planet, other populations will suffer reduced growth because, you know, they're being eaten. But on the bright side, these enslaved populations will be 50% more productive in all areas. Click on your home system to learn more. I think some of these numbers mentioned within this tutorial may be a bit out of date as well. If we click on slave drivers, it actually mentions 100% there for FIDSI, food industry, dust, science influence. Right, let's have a look at our home system then, which in this circumstance happens to be Scorpius. That's always different, but you always start with the same home world, which is Husk in the Cravers case, which is appropriately named. Craver populations consume a planet through accelerated use of its resources. They receive a bonus of plus 50% for all FIDSI initially, dropping to minus 50% when they have depleted it, and the planet becomes barren. The speed at which this happens to a planet depends on the difficulty. Yeah, those numbers may be incorrect. Let's close the tutorial then. That's it for the tutorial in this Let's Play. And I'll discuss more about how slave drivers works. So I mentioned Husk is appropriately named, and the reason I said that is because it literally is going to be a husk in 19 turns time when it's fully depleted. You can see here that's basically how long it's going to take. So what's happening is that the Cravers, they have a depletion point, so they are basically eating the planet. While they're doing that though, they're getting 150% to their FIDSI, so the resources are a lot more than normal. But yeah, this planet is going to be pretty crap in 19 turns time. So what you really want to do with the Cravers is actually prolong this for as long as you can. So you actually probably don't want an awful lot of Cravers on your worlds in some circumstances. What you need to remember, of course, is that there's only going to be a certain amount of turns within the game if you're going to win in any quick time, put it that way. So you probably want to time the depletion of your planets to around the time or nearly at the time where you're winning the game, and that's something I'm going to be trying to do later on. So perhaps between turn 120 and 150 I'm going to hope to win at, depending on the victory type I go for. So yeah, if well, in this case the home world is going to get depleted very quickly no matter what I do, but with the other worlds I will be able to manage it a bit more. Now in regards to the minor race that happens to reside on Husk, well, we've seen or heard mentioned the slave driver's ability, and we can actually come here on the system approval to see that in a bit more detail. So every slave you get minuses your approval. That's a big issue, because approval, it contributes to giving you extra FIDSI amounts. Normally, if you have happy empire approval or even ecstatic, you get a bonus. 15% for dust and science at 70%, and at 85% is ecstatic, which is 30% to both of those resources. So you really want to achieve that, and it can be quite hard with the Cravers. But remember, you're getting a huge amount in extra FIDSI anyway, which is all the resources, while planets are being depleted. So it kind of makes up for having less approval in many circumstances. The actual minor race themselves, if we come here, and also mentioned in the slave driver's ability in this screen, they actually produce extra FIDSI themselves when they are enslaved. So you really want to tag them together with a Craver, as long as it doesn't cause too many approval issues, to get yet more FIDSI amounts. You can see there it's actually mentioned that we're getting extra food, industry, dust and science in this case from having the minor race being enslaved. So you can really make use out of this, and in fact minor races, although they grow less, they increment less because of being enslaved, you want a lot of them potentially to get yet more FIDSI amounts. And something else I should mention with them, basically once a planet is depleted, even if that is the case, you can still enslave them and get bonus resources from them, so that's very useful as well. There's also another thing you can do with minor races. You can actually eat them, literally. So there are feeding pits where you can gain extra approval and food for a limited amount of time. So yeah, minor races are very important to the Cravers. If we come into the government screen, there's yet more unique things found here for the Cravers. So the Cravers have a unique government that only they are allowed to use. That is autocracy. On the face of things, it seems very similar to the dictatorship government, which all of the other empires are allowed to use. It is a one-party system, so only one party appears in the Senate, the one that you happen to vote for. Any other representatives who don't get into the Senate can cause you approval issues, which can be a downside, just like dictatorship. It also has a number of law slots, 3 in fact, which is actually more than a dictatorship to start. But I believe this is as many as you can actually get, so it is rather limited compared to a democracy especially, which is definitely a downside. Only the major population can vote, which is pretty unique as well. No other government type has that. And anarchy cannot happen, which is really good. But changing government type is impossible, so you're basically stuck with this whether you want to be stuck with it or not. So in many ways this government really is limited. In other ways it can be pretty powerful because of those abilities. So you can't have a load of heroes and a load of political parties and loads of laws, but the fact that other major populations can't vote can be quite useful. It gives you a lot more freedom with picking up minor races and specifically trying to pick up their collection bonuses and not having to worry about what ideology they happen to be, since, yeah, they can't vote. You can see it's visually represented here by these very small symbols as well. The Cravers themselves, if we take a look at them in more detail here, ideologically, as you'd expect, they're very much focused for war. In fact, they even get more war ideology if you happen to get any pacifist events or build anything like that's trade related or dust related, which is often to do with pacifism. So that means they're pretty actually limited in the Senate about who you can choose. It's pretty much the war party, and that's it, arguably. Having said that, though, there are other options that you could potentially go for. If you're going after a conquest victory, actually, going religious could be a very good idea if you happen to have enough influence. You could set your, well, you could use this law, Saints and Sinners build, to set your approval to content. Now, this wouldn't have as much effect as normal because you're getting a ton of extra fidsy amount anyway from your depleted worlds, or planets which are being depleted, I should say. So yeah, you're getting a ton of extra fidsy anyway, so it doesn't matter so much that you're not ecstatic or happy. So that can be a way you could go down with the Cravers. You could even arguably go pacifist if you wanted to play a more normal game with them, where you are trying to influence miners and the like, but I probably wouldn't recommend that, although some people did actually play that a lot within the early access. I think things have changed a bit since then. So yeah, the Cravers are pretty damn unique, I'd say, and you have to be aware of certain things. Let's actually start out then by picking a law. Now, because of slave drivers, we can't get to 70% straight away like most of the other empires. So I'm not going to pick Toys for Boys, which I would normally pick. I'm actually going to pick the extra money, the extra dust for super tax. And the others, there is a militarist law I could pick up straight away, but not building ships yet, so I don't really need it. And it does cost influence because it's related to a party. I don't really need that yet, so I think that's pretty much all I want to do in here for the time being. The one last thing I should probably show is the collection bonuses for the Cravers. So these aren't all that amazing, arguably. That ideology doesn't really matter so much because they're already very militarist. They do get a bit of a ship production cost on the systems with that one at 20 population. This one's very interesting though. They actually gain an extra 1% per depleted planet, I believe, to weapons modules and troop damage. So that can be very, very useful, and there's ways you can definitely exploit that later on. So let's take a look at our hero as well. So it doesn't start with any skill points. He's actually a guardian, which is well suited to being a fleet commander, but I'm actually going to use him as a governor. And there are some very good reasons to do that. Well, first of all, we want to get the governor related bonuses to get us up and running straight away. And he does have bonuses towards food and industry, which is very useful for his Craver options. Later on, this trait for Guardians is actually incredibly powerful. It's extra 40% per skill point in this too, to industry. So I think it's definitely best to use this guy as a governor. You can definitely make an argument though to have him as a fleet commander. But let's stick him there. Okay, there's not an awful lot more I can do here. I'm actually going to get up my, well, Dust and Science straight away with that though. I'm going to stick those in the list as well. My minor race is very valuable. I don't want to be using the feed-in pits at the moment. I definitely want a lot of them because I want a lot of enslaved populations giving me, yeah, more resources. And allow me to stretch out how long I can deplete my planets within. Stretch that amount of time out so they're not wrecked straight away. Right, let's close that screen. Now there's a bit of a narration which plays here. I'll be quiet while that's in action.
For as long as they can remember, the Hive has waged endless war. Born, or rather bred, in the labs of the Endless, as a relentless bioweapon. Peace is not a concept they understand. You have been locked too long on one planet, however, and your home world will soon be consumed. To avoid extinction, you must strike out from your birthplace and devour the galaxy.
Okay, let's do just that then. So, in terms of research as well, let's take a look in here. Yeah, only 24 research to start is not much, so that's why I want to get my science and dust up first. Right, so we actually start with 2 techs. So there's one up here in the militarist side of things, not particularly useful at the time being. And we also start with a resource, titanium, and that production building, which is very useful. I want to get my science up and my ability to colonize straight away. So I want that tundra world and also that science building. So we go for that first. Now the Cravers actually start with one more ship than most other empires. They get 2 scout type ships, scavengers they are called for the Cravers, and they also start with their pupa, which is a colony ship. So I'm going to be sending those out shortly. Let's take a look at our home system again. So what's on here? 2 ash planets. Alright, there's nothing here that I can actually colonize quite quickly. Normally I might actually do some expeditions with my scavenger ships, but in this case probably won't. So let's move them on. Right, I'm going to send some probes out though, I think, first of all. Now this does use up some movement points, so there's a downside to it, but yeah, I'll send those out. Where are we on the map anyway? I haven't even looked out, have I? So we are within the Pixtis constellation to start out, and there should be, I think there's going to be at least 4 constellations. I'm not sure exactly how many. With 6 empires I would prefer 6 constellations, but yeah, the game doesn't do a good job of telling you how many constellations you can expect. So I'm going to send 1 scavenger down that way and 1 down that way. And as you might have, well, with the Cravers playstyle, I'm either going to be going for a supremacy victory or a conquest victory, depending on circumstances. You can see there's mentioned how many star systems are on the map, or at least how many you need to conquer the galaxy. It's not how many are actually on the map. So 43 is actually quite a lot for this map type, I believe. So that makes conquest harder. So yeah, one of those I'm more than likely to be going for. Right, I think that's it for the first turn. Let's end the turn. Okay, let's zoom on. We found the Delphinius colony, and that has Eden Incense. Eden Incense could be very good for a religious game, actually, which is what I would probably do if I was going after Conquest Victory, because of the lore I showed earlier on, which is that one. Yeah, you'd definitely have the influence of Eden Incense. That's definitely a route I could go down. Let's end the turn. It's not my preferred route to go down, though, to be honest. Let's move on. We found a minor race, the Mavros. So we're these guys happen to be anyway. There's a bit of description on them there. I really like the Mavros. They're one of my favourite minor races, so I'm really happy to see them straight away. Now, I don't even have the tech to start praising yet, and we can't actually do a lot of this without being pacifist, or at least having pacifists within our government, because we have eternal war, which prevents us from praising an assistant. You can actually increase relations, there are ways. So you can gain resources. Some of the races naturally will like you. I don't think the Mavros are one. And you can do expeditions on the world if they happen to have them, but they don't by the looks of things here. Let's bring the colony ship back up that way. It looks like I took the wrong choice out of the 3 options. So, Shaddai. Oh, there happens to be a colonizable world there. Great. So let's take a look at this in more detail. We get a planetary slideshow, which is rather nice. And it looks like it's not causing issues with performance like it once did. That's easy to colonize that world, so I'm actually going to do an expedition on that now. Not sure I will for the gas giant yet. Well, that's perhaps a better resource. Blue cat mold. So I've got a genuine choice here. Now, to be honest, this is science. That's what it focuses on. I'd probably prefer Jandinix, which is production with the well, with most races arguably, but especially with the Cravers. But that's a pretty good resource that I might use instead of eating incense. If I do want to go a religious game though, that could be very good. Religious conquest. I have a probe, one left, or I could do another expedition. I'm actually going to send a probe out into the middle of the map. Let's see if I can find another constellation. And I'll bring that back up there in the meantime. Okay. Let's take a look at the planets here. Desert, Savannah, Mediterranean. Those 2 are very easy to colonize. I'm actually going to do some expeditions on both of those before moving on then. Hyperion, very important resource. Strategic. And more eating incense. Okay. Right, let's move on here. Right, what next? Let's end turn. Should get my first building in. So that will increase, well, not only dust, but my science. And I think, yeah, we'll go with this next, which is extra food and production. That's extra production for fertile worlds and temperate worlds. It's not temperate, but it is fertile. So I get plus 20. It's a planet. So yeah, it's pretty good for that world, but not brilliant. Okay. Found another system, Kairos, and there's another colonizable planet here. So I'm going to be wanting to get colony ships out very quickly soon. I think I'll get the production up a tiny bit first. I'm actually out of probes here, so I'll wait to turn there with that. And I've got hotkey linked to the thumb button on the mouse, so I use that to get rid of the movement thing. Let's end the turn. And on turn 5, you get the main quest started, no matter which empire you happen to be. So, solo quest started, chapter 1 of our own brood, part 1. Trouble! Craver scouts in the great beyond have pinned the homeworld about a mysterious ship harassing our forces. This wouldn't be out of the ordinary, except for one thing. It's one of ours. Craver ships do not turn against their own kind. We must take action. So we've got 2 objectives. Send a fleet to destroy the hostile Craver vessel, and a reward, which is the thing I'm most interested in, is titanium 50 in this circumstance. What is the capture option, which is send a fleet to intercept the hostile Craver vessel, and we get a reward of 60 deciduous trees, luxury resource, which is for dust. Now I say the reward's the most, the thing I pay most attention to. I think that's a better reward, but capture actually leads you to actually gaining a new ship. I've played the Cravers a bit before, so yeah, I'm actually going to go for that option. I don't think I've ever gone for that option actually. I think it's a lot harder to do than capture, and it's not, as rewarding either. So let's go for that. Killing a Craver, even a hostile one, is a blow against the hive, trap, and declaw the vessel. So, where do they happen to be? So they are currently there, as you can see from that flashing icon. Right, so I need to basically go to a system, lock down my fleet using that, and hope that they pass within to intercept them. Right, looks like we discovered another minor race, the Nashas, and they happen to reside in the Sassini system. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Looks like we just met a new major faction, the United Empire.
The Empire welcomes all those who share its ideals. Do you?
Not exactly neighbours I would want to start out, since they are militarist in personality, mercantile also, and you can see a bit of their details here, so they're very expansionist. So yeah, that's not great to have as neighbours, and they may well be within the same constellation as us as well. If there are 4 constellations, then yeah, that's not too surprising. Someone would have to start in the same constellation. Right, that's an issue. We need to get colony ships out here rather quickly then, probably. Right, so if we take a look at the... Well, I can actually make first contact with them, and I might as well. Yeah, that's if we happen to assimilate them, which is basically means I'm going to have to conquer them more than likely. That's a faction trait you get. So that could be very useful, potentially. And the Mavros is shipbuilders, which is very, very useful as well. So definitely want to get both of those. Let's move our ships on. And here, I'm going to send some probes out. What is that? Patrol ship. If I see a colony ship coming up here, well, I'm probably going to attack it. Right. Let's end the turn. Okay. Oh, we found the Tikkanen. And that ability with the Cravers could be incredible. So I really love the fact we found them. And there's a bit of details on them there. Let's find a location. Right down here as well. So let's make first contact. I don't think this race you get automatic relations with, sadly. Some of them you get +1 per turn. Looks like I've found 2 constellations now. One I started and one down here. Let's close that. Research is done this turn. So support modules have been opened up for getting that error unlocks by researching one in that error. So it's a case of what tech do I want next now. Do we start with Hyperion on any of my worlds? There's some nearby, so I'm going to go for the Hyperion resource next. What else is nearby as well? Let's have a look in Justium. Lava, ash. I think there's a lot of ash on my starting homeworld, so I'm going to have to get that soon. What about Delphius? Desert, Savannah. Right, and Mediterranean. Mediterranean is there, so I might go for that. Maybe before that, in fact. Okay. Ash is there, so I'm going to want to get that soon as well. Okay, so research is done for the turn. Let's close that. Got that tech building, which I can make soon. Craver population went up on the homeworld, so it's getting depleted at a quicker rate now. Okay, let's do the automated movement. Okay, I'm gonna bring my colony ship, I think, towards where we saw United Empire. Gonna have to colonize down here sooner rather than later, I think. And that scavenger ship, let's also bring that down here, I'm thinking. Okay, and I need to definitely do this quest if I can, and I need to get some ships down to there. That scavenger ship, I'm going to wait for more probes actually with that. And at this stage, I wouldn't be surprised if I've been recording for over half an hour. So I'd say this map has the makings of a very interesting game so far. We've got 3 very cool minor races that have very good collection bonuses and assimilation bonuses. There's quite a few nice systems nearby. we've got an aggressive major which could cause me issues, especially getting down here perhaps to intercept that vessel. But all of that is to come in the upcoming videos. I'll definitely be getting through a lot more turns than 6 next time round. I hope you enjoyed this video anyway, and if you did, you'd be really helping me out if you were to leave it a thumbs up, a like, as that helps to boost my videos in YouTube's search rankings. It's quite possible to use the search feature to find out about my channel in the first place, so you'd be not only helping me out, but helping out other people who want to find content like this. So I'm very grateful if you decide to like any of my videos or even share them should you wish. Other than that, if you're new to the channel, I should mention subscribing. Basically, that allows you to, of course, find out when my videos are out, and it helps me out also. So I'd be very grateful if you do decide to become a subscriber. Also, if you have any comments or questions, or you just want to say hi, please use the comment section. I respond to questions no matter how old a video is. And last couple of things, these days I have a Twitter page, so if you want to follow me on there, please check that out. And also, if you want to see much more content like this in the future, then supporting the channel via Patreon would be a good way to ensure that happens. I really need all the help I can get. So Patreon is a service that allows people to donate from $1 or more a month to help with running costs and just general living expenses for people who make creative content like stuff on YouTube. So I'd be very grateful if you were to check out my Patreon page, and even more grateful if you were to become a patron. I'd just like to thank my existing patrons as well, who've been a massive help, and without them probably the channel wouldn't be going at this point. I really rely on them a lot. Right, that's it then for this first video anyway. So I'd just like to thank you for watching again, and I'll see you next time.